This is Yoredale Wensleydale, seriously creamy, almost spreadable, a delicious cheese.
Dangerously Moorish, so don't leave this alone in the fridge. To go with the creaminess of the cheese, I've selected this Tavo Pinot Grigio. It's got enough breadth to it to match the cheese's richness.
And the fruitcake balances the lactic yogurty note of this incredibly and really quite creamy cheese.
Real cheese, real wine, real flavour.
Hi, good evening everyone, and welcome to the Cheese Crowd live tasting, our final gathering of the year, and what a delicious one it is. I'm James Grant, and tonight we're diving into craft, heritage and flavour with two exceptional guests. First, welcome Ben Spence, and cheesemaker and founder of Curlew Dairy, the home of the most incredible Wensleydale Yoredale cheese. Hi Ben, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good to have you with us this evening.
Thank you.
And I'd like to formally introduce to you as well the most incredible, lovely lady, Catherine Dart, our long-standing collaborator and master of the vine. Catherine Dart has selected tonight's wine pairing, and we've got a beautiful Tavo Pinot Grigio, which is going to be great. I'm going to take you both off just for a second, and I'm going to dive into this bit of deliciousness. Let's begin with the star, the Yoredale, Ben's milk cloth-bound farmhouse cheese. Here it is, everybody. Gorgeous piece of cheese. It's a farmhouse Wensleydale, a cheese rooted in Yorkshire's pastoral landscape with that bright acidity and gentle honey depth. Now, take a bite of the Pullins Bakery fruitcake, ladies and gentlemen, whilst you're out there. Get your fruitcake. Get a bite of this. Get some of the Wensleydale, or a big chunk. Wow. And bring in the wine, if you have the wine, that is. A sip of the Tavo Pinot Grigio. Feel how the citrus lift frames the cheese, and how the nutty sweetness of the cake kind of creates a really stunning bridge between both of the elements there. I think it's quite delicious. Wow, this is great. Ben.
Hello.
This is an amazing thing that's going on here. It's one of my favorite pairings, fruitcake and cheese. And in the South, unfortunately, there's a lot of Southerners that don't quite understand why this works so well. So, Ben, what is it about this that works so well, in your opinion?
I guess for me, it's something that we've always had. So, fruitcake and cheese, especially at Christmas, it's always been a staple. So, yeah, it's just something that's always been eaten in our family. So, yeah, like you say, the sweetness of the fruitcake and the acidity of the cheese always seems to balance well.
Now, Curlew Dairy has become a bit of a defining voice in modern farmhouse Wensleydale. What inspired you to bring this heritage style back to life?
So I grew up on a dairy farm in Wensleydale, and our milk used to go to make the Wensleydale cream cheese at Hawes. And so I've grown up with cheese making just around the corner. For me, the kind of the mealy, crumbly Wensleydale that many people associate with Wensleydale was not traditionally what Wensleydale used to be. So when me and my wife came back, we moved away, and when we came back to settle and set up the dairy, we wanted to take cheese making back to what it was pre-war on farm, which was a cheese that was a lot more creamy, a lot more buttery, still with that lemon acidity that you get in our cheese. So to just take Wensleydale cheese making back to its heritage, so that was what we wanted to do.
Well, I think you've done it beautifully. Can you walk us through the milk? I know you don't own the animals at the moment, but you know the animals. You have a relationship with the farmer and the milk. Tell us about the herd and what makes your raw milk so expressive in Yoredale.
So the farm that we get the milk from, they're a couple similar in age to myself and my wife. They are new in the area, relatively new. They have a herd of Montbéliard cows in the Bolton Estate grounds, and that's where we get our milk from. So it's a much higher butterfat and protein milk than perhaps a Holstein herd, for example. They have summer grazing, which is a fairly unique thing, I think, in modern dairy farming these days. So the cows will be out probably April through to October time, and in for the Yorkshire winter. And that gives the cheese its seasonality, which is something that is really important for us. And when we were looking for a herd, we definitely had to have one that was going to spend at least some time out with grass. For us, that was a really important factor.
I'm guessing just that segues nicely into our next question, unprompted, but I think it's important. The seasonality of your cheese, obviously on grass, and then when they're inside on silage, etc., there is quite a difference, isn't there? Can you just briefly explain to the cheese crowd what that difference could be?
Yeah, I mean, this year has been so atypical, but generally the butterfat and the protein will in the milk will go up during the winter months, and you'll get a much denser, richer cheese. And then over the summer months, when the cows go back out to grass, the butterfat and protein will drop. You'll get a kind of, depending on how good I am at adapting the make as the cows turn out, you tend to get a bit more of a tighter cheese that is less buttery, just because of the drop in the butterfat when the cows go out to grass. This year it's been very tricky with the dry summer, and there's not been a lot of goodness in the grass, which has actually meant when the cows have gone in, that our cheese has gone almost so soft it's been spreadable. I think with the first mix with the silage this year, which has been quite tricky to get my head around when I've been making the cheese. But yeah, it just kind of highlights the importance of the milk in the process and how we have to adapt our cheese making to the milk that we get.
Well, it's quite nice as well. So I'm guessing potentially you'll get customers who get used to your cheese and know that, oh, this is going to be really soft at this point of the year. Let's spread some of this on some really good bread. Or fruitcake, excuse me.
Yeah,
I should say.
There is variability between batches, so we'll tend to grade. But for those people who are better equipped to handle those kind of wide variations in the cheese, and there are some people who actually prefer the much softer cheese as well. So every batch of cheese that we make will be graded, and we'll try our best to match those to the people who we think they're going to be best suited to. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's great for cheesemongers as well, because good cheesemongers like our friend Andy Swinsko and others will know those makes and potentially be able to, with their trained team, be able to upsell and talk about those cheeses and why they taste as you have just now, which I think is really important. So what parts of the process gives Yourdale its signature bright, lactic and clean acidity?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can pinpoint it to one particular thing. I mean, obviously, our recipe was based on a historic Wensleydale make. We scoured the history books to glean what information we could on how Wensleydale was made, how long it was in the vat for, what temperatures the milk was held at, right through to how it was aged and where it was stored. So, I think there's quite a lot about what we found out that adds to that. There's obviously the milk as well. So Wensleydale as a cheese has been around in the Dales for an awful long time. So I think it's in part the methodology that gives it its flavour, but also attributable to the milk of the valley that we're in.
Okay, so Wensleydale as a style as well has seen industrialisation over the decades. What does true Wensleydale mean to you? And can you explain the difference?
I think for me, people always say, what's a Wensleydale? And for me, Wensleydale is a product of the farm and the people making it. I think when Wensleydale cheese moved into the factory, it was with rationing in mind. So it had to be efficient, it had to be quick, it had to feed the population. And what Wensleydale cheese was rapidly turned into much more of a commodity product. I think Wensleydale cheese, as it was, very different farm to farm. It would be based on that particular farm's day, what animals they had, and was often made by the farmer's wife. So it would depend on quite often what she had to do that day, what other jobs were happening on that particular farm. So Wensleydale cheese for me is certainly a product of the location and the family that's making it more than anything else.
So what's next for Curlew? Are there aging experiments or future cheeses you can tease the cheese crowd with?
So we have recently moved. We were making in our garage. We have now moved to a farm. So this last year has been spent pretty much flat out moving to the new dairy. We have started making some halloumi, so look out for that next year. But other than that, I think it's just consolidate what we've got and have a bit of a rest next year. So.
Well done, you. Sorry, this cheese I've got so much cheese in my mouth. I just want to read it all. That's amazing. You worked so hard over the last year. You both. I remember when I first met you all those years ago, and from where you were to where you arrived, converting a garage into a dairy, producing internationally award-winning heritage cheeses in the UK. Is something I think you need to both be incredibly proud of. We certainly all love it. Us cheesemongers and in the real cheese crowd, we're well happy with what you're doing. There's a wider question I'd like to ask you on Wensleydale. From your perspective, why is Wensleydale such an important part of Britain's cheesemaking heritage? And what do you think people often misunderstand about it?
I mean, I think the late David Hartley at the Wensleydale Creamery made a really good job of raising the profile of Wensleydale cheese, and obviously Kit Calvert before him in getting Wensleydale cheese on the ration books. I think were it not for Kit getting it on the ration books, Wensleydale cheese was in danger of dying out altogether. So there is a huge amount of heritage around Wensleydale cheese in this area, and it is a tribute to them guys. So it is great just to be able to continue that legacy, I guess.
It is, and it's amazing to see how David and others have helped to shape true Wensleydale and make way for you and others like the Hattons, for example, and people like that, and the Win Yeats who are making Wensleydale styles as well. It's incredible to see that we've got this heritage cheese, and it very much is alive thanks to what you're doing and people like Andy and other cheesemongers that are really promoting it and pushing it now. And it's a great cheese, and it's something we need to protect. And there's a lot of interest from abroad when they taste these cheeses as well. When I offer cheeses, when I sell them at big markets, and I might have a Frenchman in front of me, and I give them a piece of Wensleydale. They go, "This is incredible. What is it?" And I say, "Well, this is a proper Wensleydale, mate. This is how it should be." "No, it's not Wensleydale. It's dry and crumbly." No. This is a proper Wensleydale. This is creamy. This is beautiful. This is what it should be. And they have a big smile on their face, and they say, "Yes, let me have a kilo." So it's great. So let's keep selling cheese to the French. They've been selling it to us for years, so it's our turn to sell it to them, I think. Well done, Ben. Thank you so much for your answers to those questions. There's going to be some questions from the audience, I know, and they'll come back to you in a little while. I'm just going to take you off, bring Catherine on. Hi, Catherine.
Hello there.
And take off Ben. If you just wait in the green room, we should call the green room the cheese room. I think we much better in the cheese
room. Yeah,
the cheese and wine room, which would be a little bit more. Catherine Dart. So lovely to see you again, Master of Wine. 3 questions for you tonight. Catherine, why did you choose the Tavo Pinot Grigio as the pairing for this Yoredale and fruitcake tonight, which I'm thoroughly enjoying? As you saw me earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, I had a mouthful of cheese.
We thoroughly enjoyed it before we tasted it as
Yeah.
well. Well, I wanted to find something that would provide a bit of contrast as well as complement. So Pinot Grigio, as a grape variety, doesn't have such high acidity. So although there is a lovely freshness that runs through the wine, it's not massively elevated. So you should get a bit more breadth and texture on the palate, which sort of mirrors and matches that gorgeous, creamy, buttery character of the cheese. But at the same time, you've got sort of a citrus tang, which works nicely with that yogurty character, and a peachiness as well that provides a foil and contrast as well as complement to the wine and to the cheese. So that's really what drove me down that path. But also a wine that would be versatile, so it wouldn't hopefully become too astringent when you tasted the fruitcake or your ginger biscuits, because I know there's ginger biscuits in it this month as well. So
yes, absolutely,
yeah.
So I got to tell the cheese crowd about the ginger biscuits. I did suggest they're going to be rosemary, but on second thoughts, I decided to go with ginger because there's slightly more spice. I thought the spice would be nice to go with the fruitcake, but also I think the spice in this cheese works really, really well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Catherine.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think that was another thing that I wanted to think about, sort of how the creaminess of shortbread would work potentially if you are having mouthfuls and moving through. Obviously, sweetness and a dry white wine are sometimes a bit jarring together. So to minimize anything like that, that was the goal. But also mostly to have a wine that will make the cheese sing.
Fantastic. And what characteristics in this wine make it such a good partner for a bright, lactic and gently crumbly cheese like this, like Wednesday, like Yoredale, excuse me?
Not having too austere a character or too definite a character. So if you imagine a wine like a Sauvignon Blanc, which has, particularly in New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, say from Marlborough or somewhere, has a very, very, very distinct and obvious and overt pungent character. And I didn't want something like that would potentially knock the character of the cheese out and make it less perceptible. But I also wanted something that wouldn't be too much of a wilting violet either. But Pinot Grigio is often, it's an interesting grape variety. It's one of the many mutations of the Pinot family. And it isn't so unusual to occasionally go into a vineyard and see a vine of red grapes with one white bunch on it, or whitish bunch. And it could be Pinot Blanc or Pinot, what becomes Pinot Gris, if it's a bit more blush coloured. And that's what this grape is. And it's grown all over sort of France and down into the Germanic countries and then down into Italy. So it's more northern, well, it is northern Italian in its origin in Italy, where this comes from.
Is it known as another grape? Do they call it something else?
In Germany, it's usually called Grauburgunder, Pinot Gris in France, and Pinot Grigio in Italy. But it's often what we get in the shops a lot of the time here has become a very sort of super easy to drink, almost neutral white wine. And true Pinot Grigio has more texture and breadth. And you usually find those a little bit further north than the Veneto, where this wine hails from. So you're heading up into the mountainous, more alpine areas of Italy, sort of on the border with Slovenia. And in Friuli and places like that, you get these incredible Pinot Grigios, but they are often a lot more money than you want to pay, particularly in a market like ours, where the supermarkets are flooded with it. But this one, not much more to its true varietal character, because you have some texture and breadth that sits alongside the freshness, the citrus and the peach. And it's completely unoaked as well, so there's no sort of oak influence.
It's delicious. It's very fresh. It's very clean, and it lifts everything, as I think we both agreed at the beginning. So if people want to explore beyond Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio, what other wine styles would you point them towards for this kind of pairing?
Well, the first thing I would point them to, if they're being brave, is head to Alsace and try a Pinot Grigio from there, because it is a slightly different animal. It has a lot more weight, becomes more marmalade-y in character, and I actually think that would work beautifully with this cheese as well. But if you preferred a red wine, I'd probably point you in the direction of something which is young and fresh and fruity, perhaps a Beaujolais, something made with Gamay. So you don't have, again, there's not too much tannin, and there's lots of red, crunchy red fruit, but a lovely fruity character. Or maybe even a young Pinot Noir. You could look towards the New World, like New Zealand, for that, or potentially go to sort of a Bourgogne Rouge level in Burgundy, and that would work as well. Possibly even a Côte d'Rhône, if it's a nice entry-level Côte d'Rhône. Sorry?
Would you chill it? Could you chill it?
Well, you certainly, the Beaujolais you could, especially if you go up to the Loire Valley and you go to Anjou and places, you could certainly give those a bit of a chill. And they would work quite nicely with it as well. But I would go with something that's more sort of young and fruit dominant with a cheese like this. You don't want too much oak and too much tannin, because I think there is a delicacy and refinement to the flavors in the cheese with that yogurty character and that gorgeous texture, and the acidity in those sort of wines will help balance out that richness and make you want to come back for more cheese.
Well, I think it's a fantastic pairing, and I think you've done really well. So I'm going to just give you a round of applause.
Thank you.
And switch it off.
Yes.
We tried that app yet, but there seems to be a bit of fun. Brilliant pairing there, Catherine. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring everybody back on again and just do a couple of things on the tech side, which I have on this side here. So as far as the fruitcake is concerned, you've all got fruitcake in front of you there, have you?
I haven't, because my children ate it.
That's really naughty, but it's also quite funny as well. Did they like it?
Yes, they absolutely loved it. They declared it ever so good, and that's why I had to hide my cheese up here, because I'm in a different room today, because they also ate my cheese.
Okay, so Angela is the lovely lady that owns Pullin's Bakery, Angela Pullin. They've been going since 1925. This is real heritage craft baking. I did look for fruitcake in Yorkshire. There are some beautiful fruitcakes in Yorkshire as well. I know you've got a great producer up there, excuse me, Ben, haven't you? Which is just terrific. Really good fruitcake. And I thought, to be just slightly controversial, let's go somewhere else and get a fruitcake. So I've gone to another part of the world, the south, and I picked up some fruitcake from the southwest. This is really heritage craft baking. Pullins is a fourth generation family bakery established in 1925, known for traditional British cakes made with time-honored methods. They're rich and they're really well balanced, I think. The fruitcake is densely fruited and spiced and perfectly moist. Do you like, as a Yorkshireman, Ben, I'm going to ask I'm slightly nervous to ask a Yorkshireman if this fruitcake works. You don't have to be honest. You be honest with me, please. How do you feel about this?
Well, yeah. At least it's not from Lancashire, eh?
Okay. I'll take that as a positive. That's a good thing. It's not from Lancashire. I think it's quite gently spiced and perfectly moist. It's a natural partner, of course, for bright lactic cheeses. It's an incredible pairing with your dough. It creates that magical sweet meets savoury moment, and the acidity from the cheese and the warmth from the cake and the wine lifting everything together. So I think this is a really, really, really good partnership. So now is the time for the audience Q&A. Have we got any questions from the audience? Let's have a quick look. We've got a couple of things coming up. We've got this fruitcake is a little early Christmas moment and is a surprise with the cheese and wine. The wine brings out the fruit, but also the creamy cheese. Loving it. That's Sandy Brenning. Thank you very much. A question for you here, Ben, from Sandy again. How is the halloumi process different from Wensleydale? It's an interesting one. It's a quick make, though, halloumi, isn't it? It's the first cheese. You can make it quite quickly. Go for it.
Yeah, no, it is. It is quite a quick make. We do use the same milk, which is obviously quite interesting. The halloumi make that we do makes a much more softer halloumi than perhaps you would be accustomed to with halloumi. Halloumi with a lot more flavour. We use a lot more heat. We don't use starter in the halloumi make, so there are quite a few differences. But and I can sell and eat the halloumi within 24 hours. Where obviously the Yardale, that'll be in the store for anything between 6 weeks and 6 months. So
you can make your halloumi and it's ready to go within a day, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're doing a festival, a food festival next year, 10th to the 12th of July. I've got a cheesemaker called Roger Longman who's bringing a copper vat, and he's going to be making halloumi in a field with raw milk. And then when the halloumi's been made, he's going to make ricotta with the whey.
Yeah.
That would be quite an interesting process.
Good, yeah.
Good old Roger. So Roger Longman is White Lake Cheeses, ladies and gentlemen. Cheese Crowd, if you haven't heard of Roger before. Lee Porter, well done, Lee. Lee saying absolutely sublime combo this evening. And we've got our resident Catherine, who's asked the question, does the milk change or influence the colour of cheese seasonally? Good question.
Obviously, the yellowness of the cheese is largely dictated by the milk solids within the milk. So over the winter months, you'll tend to get a deeper yellow with the cheese than in the spring. And obviously, as we age, our cheese are extra mature. As the moisture leaves the cheese, and so that kind of again concentrates the yellowness in the cheese. So I guess just
if you eat a cheese through the year, you'll be able to see, bearing in mind aging, broadly speaking, what season it's from once you get to know the cheese.
Yeah, very very loosely. It will be whiter in the early spring, and then it will kind of hue to darker yellow when the cows turn in as they they take the second and third rotation around the pastures.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Sorry, mouthful of fruitcake, excuse me. I got Sandy Brennan, who just said the wine is amazingly light and smooth. Absolutely. It's very light and it's incredibly smooth. It's a delicious wine. And the rind question from me and for the cheese crowd as well. And then I also want to ask you to tell everybody what other cheeses you have. Can you eat the rind?
You can, yeah. Yeah, no, that's edible.
And what would you describe the flavour of the rind? Mushroomy, fungal, or?
So obviously the cheese at the rind will be mushroomy. The rind itself can be quite bitter and it can be an acquired taste, but it is safe to eat.
It is safe to eat. Okay, so don't waste those rinds. And if you don't like the rind, you could probably reserve it and then grate it and use it in your cauliflower cheese. Perhaps might be a good idea. I've got another question that's just popped in there. Okay, so that's Lee. How old is the cheese we're eating tonight?
So yeah, on the back of the cheese, on the packet, there's a batch code. So it's batch 36 and it was made on the 5th of the 11th, this one that I have. So we've still got the wrapper. It will tell you when it was made. It'd probably be the same as that. So the 5th of November.
Remember. And we've got Bob Montgomery. You'll be pleased to hear, Catherine said, wine is great, so pleased to get it in time for tonight.
I'm pleased they got it in time as well.
Well, that's fantastic. Any other questions for the audience? From us to the audience, do we need to ask them anything tonight? I don't think so. Ben, tell us about the other cheeses you've got as well. I think it's important we know about your blue, which is just incredible.
Yeah, so we've got there's 5 cheeses. 4 of them are all kind of slants on the Yardale. So we've got the Yardale, which is 6 to 12 weeks. We take that up to 6 months, and that's our extra mature. We smoke it, and that's called Millerwood, which is just lightly smoked. We also blue, which is exactly the same recipe as the Yardale, but we'll put an atto and the penicillium in it and pierce it at 2 and 3 weeks. And that's what makes our blue cheese. And then obviously we've got the halloumi as well.
And you're hand piercing that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Can I ask a quick question? When you make the other cheeses and the blue, how do you stop the other cheeses becoming blue as well? Is it contained?
So it's basically the penicillium that goes in the blue that makes it blue, and that needs air in order to grow. So, like you, we were concerned initially that it would send all our white blue, but because it's not exactly a hard pressed cheese, but it is a pressed cheese. So we put the penicillium in one of our whites and didn't pierce it and opened it up at six weeks, and there was no blue in, and it tasted just like a Yardale. So unless you pierce it,
yes,
it won't blow. So
okay, so you got them in the same room.
Yeah, they don't, not in the same maturing room, but they'll all be made in the same vat. You know, we can make them the day after. We take one out.
You're ready, you move.
Yeah, we can take one out of the press while the other one's being made in the room, and we've never had any problem with them cross blowing. So.
Sure. I mean, I've tried the Yardale Blue, which is phenomenal. It's delicious.
I have as well.
Really,
it's lovely.
Really good cheese. It's a really good cheese. Very, very Moorish.
Well,
Great with fruitcake.
The halloumi sounds really interesting.
Yeah, halloumi's got a bit of a renaissance at the moment, and there was something in the news today, which was saying that it was about feta, wasn't it? I think feta today, saying how there's not going to be enough feta coming from Greece, etc. I think we don't need to worry. I think we can probably make it in the UK just as good. Dare I say it to my Greek friends, but we can make feta and halloumi styles. We can't call it feta though. But we can make styles of cheese like that, can't we? The proof is in the eating. Baron Bigod, one of the best bries in the world. So yeah, we can do it. We can make great copies of other incredibly famous cheeses from the continent. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for our final cheese crowd tasting this year. A huge thank you, Ben Spence from Curly Dairy. It's great to have you with us all the way up there in Yorkshire.
Thanks,
and to Catherine Dart, Master of Wine, for guiding us through the pairing again this evening. And thank you, our cheese crowd community, at the heart of what we do. Have a wonderful and incredibly cheesy Christmas, please. And we'll see you all in the new year with more cheese stories and unforgettable flavour. Lots of happening things next year. We've got a big market, Slow Food and the Real Cheese Project joining forces in a field in Oxfordshire, where we're going to have a slow food market with cheese, and the very first UK earth market that's been put on, working closely with Slow Food at the moment on that, which is all under wraps. But save the date, the 10th to the 12th of July, and it'll be very, very cheesy as well. Hoping to maybe get Ben there as well, which should be good. But ladies and gentlemen, it leaves me just to say thank you so much. Really pleased that you've joined us for our journey this year, and we look forward to picking up next year. There's going to be a brand new members area on your website that you've probably seen. You can't get in there just at the moment; it's locked down, but you will be able to get in there quite soon. And there's discounts for cheese courses at the Welbeck Estate, and lots of other great things as well that are coming up, and entrance to really cool festivals across the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me and from my lovely guests, Catherine, Ben. May you all have a really cheesy Christmas. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.
Bye.